Hare Krishna. So yesterday we are now reading Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Okay. So now, my humble obeisances to His Holiness Bhanaswami Maharaj, His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, and all the Acharyas in the Parampara. And thank you so much for joining. Okay. Now, yesterday we completed chapter 1 of this book. Like, it is named Observing the Armies. So now we are in the second chapter, Contents of the Gita Summarized. Okay. So, text 1. Chapter 2, text 1. Sanjay Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. 1 second, I'll just give off the YouTube link also in the group and 1 minute. Okay. Translation. Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. Actually, why should we leave the synonyms? We can finish off that also, okay? Because Prabhupada so painstakingly did it, so I'll read that also. Sanjay Uvacha, Sanjay said, Tam onto Arjuna, Tatha thus Kripaya, by compassion, Avishtam, overwhelmed, Ashrapurna Akula, full of tears, Ikshanam eyes, Vishidantam, lamenting, Idam, these Vakyam words, Uvacha said, Madhusudana, the killer of Madhu. Translation. Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudana Krishna spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The words Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So what is explained here is, now Arjuna, like he says, out of compassion, his mind is depressed, and he speaks the following. He tells Krishna that he's terribly depressed and he cannot fight. So Krishna speaks the following words. Okay, then he says material compassion. See, this is material compassion because he is linking them with his bodily attachments. Okay, so that is material compassion. and lamentation. Is lamenting and is full of is having tears rolling down his eyes. All these are signs of the ignorance of the real self. One who does not know his Atma, he only behaves like this, okay? Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. Once we really have compassion for our Atma, like, that is the real compassion. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu. Okay. And now Arjuna wanted Krishna because he's in a terribly confused state. So he's telling Krishna, please now help me with I'm terribly confused. I don't know what to do. So, and he says, and he wants Krishna to help him to kill the demon of misunderstanding now that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. Okay, he's a Kshatriya and he's supposed to fight, but that is his Swadharma. But now he's having this compassion, material compassion, lamentation, and tears, and he's in a confused state. So he wants Krishna to kill his ignorance. Okay, compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. So when a man is drowning, will you lift the person or will you lift his dress? Okay, this compassion is like the compassion for the dress of a drowning man, which is senseless. Okay, a man fallen in the ocean of nations cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. Okay, one who does, because we have the gross material body and the subtle body, and the atma inside that. So there's no point in showing compassion to the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man. So all of us are ignorant, and so to cure our ignorance, Krishna is speaking this Bhagavad Gita. Now he's keeping Arjuna in the center, like, representing all of us. And for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. So this chapter, what does this chapter deal with? It deals with the previous chapter dealt with how the army was arranged and who were the different warriors who were fighting. Okay, so and how the blowing of the different conch shells created different effects on the Pandavas and the Kauravas. All that was mentioned in the previous chapter. In this chapter, the main essence of this chapter is an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. Okay, this realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results. Okay, when we are not expecting something in return, okay, and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self, and one who is fixed in Atma. Only those kind of persons can understand this. Text 2.2. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Idam Vishame Samupastitam Anarya Jushtam Asvargyam Akirti Karamarjuna. Synonyms. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of God, it said, Kutaha, where from, Tva, onto you, Kashmalam, dirtiness, Idam, this lamentation, Vishame, in this hour of crisis, Samupastitam, arrived, Anarya, persons who do not know the value of life, Jushtam, practiced by Asvargam, which does not lead to higher planets, Akirti, infamy, Karam, the cause of Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation. The Supreme Personality of God had said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy. Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of God, and Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnanam advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the bhaktas or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagwan feature of the absolute truth are the topmost transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, the supreme personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the supreme personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it's concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also, there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ye te chamsha kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. All the lists of the incarnations of God is submitted here with or either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the super soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsmen is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutaha, wherefrom such impurities were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, He was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsmen. So here, it's a long purport Prabhupada has given. So now Arjuna expects Krishna to um, clear his ignorance. Okay, he is referring to Krishna as Madhusudana. Okay, because he killed the demon Madhu, and similarly he expects Krishna to kill his ignorance as well. And the absolute truth is realized in three phases, all of you know: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. Brahman is the effulgence of Krishna's body, okay? The rays that is emitted from his from him, that is called Brahman, okay? And Paramatma is the next feature, okay? The localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities is the Paramatma feature. And Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is the Bhagavan aspect, okay? So now we are all emphasizing the Bhagwan aspect because we can interact with Bhagwan, whereas with in Brahman has no qualities. Okay, it has got only consciousness and nothing else. So we cannot have any relationship with Brahman, and Paramatma is also a partial realization. That's all. And it's like actually even Paramatma, the Purushavataras also are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So with Bhagwan, we can have a relationship with a complete relationship with Bhagwan because he's got so many wonderful and sweet qualities. We can interact with Bhagwan and we can develop rasa. So that is why we emphasize on the Bhagwan aspect. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. So in the Bhagavatam also it's explained like this, like, it's realized in three aspects. And these three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun. See, actually, Brahman is the rays of the sun compared to the rays of the sunshine. It's the sunshine. And then the Paramatma feature is compared to the sun disk, okay? And then the Bhagwan feature is compared to the inside of the sun disk. So whoever enters the sun disk is a superior person, okay? Is a devotee. Is compared. So is that is the devotee, like, whoever realizes the Bhagwan feature is a topmost transcendentalist. So the Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parashara Muni. Who's Parashara Muni? Is the father of Vyasadeva, who has compiled the Vedas and written so many other great scriptures and the Itihasas and all that. So this Parashara, according to Parashara Muni, the Supreme Personality is who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagwan. There are many persons who are very rich, okay, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached. But no one can claim that he possesses all riches, okay? He might have maybe certain amount of riches. He might be the richest in the world also, but he does not have all the riches, okay? And he does not possess all riches. He might not possess all the strength, and he will not possess everything, all renunciation, etc. So it's only a partially they possess. But Krishna, he possesses all these six bhagas in full quantity and completely all. So therefore, he is called Bhagwan. So one who is called Bhagwan should have all these qualities, possess all these six qualities in full. So no living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan known as Govinda and is the supreme cause of all causes. So in Brahma Samhita, the first verse of the fifth chapter states, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. So There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes, Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also, there's a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. So even if you read Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, you will find a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Lord. But Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead from whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Okay, so this is the shloka. Ye te chamsha kalapumsa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Lokam Mrudayanti Yuge Yuge. So this Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, the phrase coming in this shloka is the Paribhasha Sutra. Okay, all the list of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the spiritual super soul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming. And therefore, Krishna expresses surprise with the word Kutaha, where from. So, lamenting in front of Krishna, being a relative of Krishna, it's like, Krishna feels really bad, and he's asking, where from you got this low quality and such impurities? The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. So that's the Aryan civilization, which is based on spiritual realization. Okay. And they know the value of life. Okay. So persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know that what liberation is. Okay, so these kind of people who are materially attached, they don't know what is the aim of life. What is the aim of life? It is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu, okay, or Bhagavan. So, although people who have knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described in as befitting the non-Aryans. Only the non-Aryans, they become very fearful and then they suddenly back out from the war. So this is not suitable for Arjuna. Okay. Uh, so this act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become Krishna, to become famous in this world. So Krishna tells Arjuna, so what about your morality? It is of no use because and also you are a coward, okay, coward. So the act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one the progress of spiritual life, nor does it give even the one the opportunity to become famous in this world. So Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsmen. Text 2.3. Klaibyam smagama partha naitattvai upapadyate kshudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktvottishta parantapa. Synonyms. Clybium, impotence, sma, do not, gama, take to, partha, O son of Pritha, no, never, etat, this, twai, onto you, Upapadyate is befitting Shudram, a pretty Hridaya of the heart, Daurbalyam, weakness, Tyaktva, giving up, Uttishta, get up, Paramatapa, O chastiser of the enemies. Translation. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy. Purport. Arjuna Arjuna was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, he is a Brahmana in name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna. So here, Arjuna was addressed as a son of Pritha. Who's Pritha? So she's Kunti Devi, who's the sister of Vasudeva, and therefore Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines to fight, he's a Kshatriya name only, and similarly a Brahmana who, if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, then such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their friend of unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. Thus, but in spite of these credits, so Arjuna, therefore Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. See, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of the magnanimous attitude for the most respectable Bhishma and his relatives, but Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity mere weakness of heart. Such false magnanimity was not very improved. Such false magnanimity was not approved by any authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called non-violence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna. Text 2.4. Arjuna uvacha katam bhishmam aham sankhe dronam cha madhusudana ishubhi pratyotsami pujarhav arisudana. Synonyms. Arjuna uvacha. Arjuna said, katam, how, Bhishma, aham, I, Sankhe in the fight. Drona, Cha also, Madhusudana, O killer of Madhu, Ishubi with arrows, Pratyotsyami shall counterattack, Pujarhau, those who are worshipable, Arisudana, O killer of the enemies. Translation. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counteract with arrows in battle? Men like Bhishma and Drona were worthy of my worship. Purport. Respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not to be offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather Ugrasena or his teacher Sandipani Muni? These were some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Krishna. So Arjuna is now telling Krishna, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I contract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona were worthy of my worship? Because they are his gurus, he says, how can I attack them in battlefield? So purport, respectable superiors like Bhishma, the grandfather, and Dronacharya, the teacher, are worshipable and they cannot be attacked. Even if they attack, Arjuna doesn't want to counterattack them. It's general etiquette that if superiors are one should not fight with the superiors, okay? Even if sometimes they are harsh in behavior, we should not be harsh, okay? Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? He says, and then he says, Arjuna, Krishna, will you ever attack your grandfather Ugrasena and your teacher Sandipani Muni? These were arguments, some of the arguments offered by Arjuna to Krishna. He talks in such an intelligent manner to Krishna, okay? Next, text 2.5. Gurun ahatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum paiksham apiha loke hatva ta kamamstu gurun ihaiva bunchiya bhogan rudhira pradithan. Synonyms: Gurun, the superiors; ahatva, not killing; he, certainly; maha anubhavan, great souls; shreya, it's better; bhoktam, to enjoy life; bhaikshyam, by begging; api, even; iha, in this life; loke, in this world; hatva, killing; artha, gain; kaman, desiring; tu, but; gurun, superiors; iha, in this world; eva, certainly; bunjiya, one has to enjoy; bhogan, enjoyable things; rudhira, blood; pradigdhan, tainted with. Translation: it would be better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers. Even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. Purport: according to scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take the side of Duryodhana because of financial assistance, although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. So what Arjuna is telling now, he says, it would be better to live by begging than to um, live by at the cost of the lives of great souls, rather than killing his superiors like his teachers, okay, and his elders. So even though desiring worldly gain, they are superiors. So even though they are doing wrong, still they are superiors, okay? They are aiming for worldly gain, okay? If they are killed, everything we enjoy will be tainted with blood. So now Arjuna is talking the basic dharma, okay? The Varnashrama dharma, Sanatana dharma, okay? But actually, according to the scriptural codes, what does the scripture say? A teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. So whenever we have accepted guru, the guru should follow the basic principles, and he needs to act like an acharya. Only then, if he follows what he preaches, only then the disciples will also follow. But if he acts in a wrong manner and if he does something abominable, immediately we should disown such a kind of a guru. If we don't disown such a kind of a guru, then we will also have a fall down, okay? So we will not also uh, gain our goal, okay? Our ultimate goal in life. So under the circumstances, what is the fault these people have done, Bhishma and Drona? Because of financial constraints, they have accepted the Duryodhana side, okay? And they are living under their under them. So it's because of the financial consideration. So they are not actually looking into the dharma aspect and supporting the Pandavas. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks, nevertheless, they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood. So this is Arjuna's argument. Text 2.6. Na chaita vidma kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyu Yan eva hatva na jijivishamas te vastita pramukhe dhartarashra. Synonyms. Na, nor, cha also. Ye that this vidma do we know? Katarat, which na for us gariya, better, yatva, whether jayema, we may conquer yadi if va or na as jayeyu, they conquer yan, those who eva certainly, hatva by killing, na never, jiji vishama, we would want to live, they all of them, avastita, are situated, pramukhe in the front, Dhatarashtra, the sons of Dhritarashtra. Translation. Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. If we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we should not care to live. Yet they are now standing before us on the battlefield. But Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor was there certainty of victory because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that not only was he a great devotee of the Lord, but he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities, combined with his faith in the words of instruction of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It's concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge and devotion, there's no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. So here, now Arjuna says, I don't know which is better, whether to conquer them, okay, or whether to conquer them or being conquered by them. So, and he says, if we kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, we do not care to live, yet they are standing in front of us. What to do? Like, no, now Arjuna says, he doesn't want to take unnecessary risk, like, of killing them. And he says, it could also, like, there could be chances that both of them could win. So in that could also happen. Or it could happen, like, we could win, and if the sons of Dhritarashtra die in the battlefield, that would also be a loss for them. That also won't be a victory. Like, still Arjuna and Pandavas will feel lamentation. So under the circumstances, that would be better for that would be another kind of defeat for them. So all these considerations by Arjuna shows that he's a great devotee of the Lord because he's enlightened, highly enlightened, and then he had complete control of his mind and senses. So he's still not immediately retaliating. Suppose somebody does something wrong to us, what is our immediate reaction? We immediately retaliate and we want to take revenge. But even under such great, like, suffering they are undergoing, still is very much under control. His mind and senses are under complete control. He doesn't want to retaliate to them and still is compassionate to them, though it is material compassion. So, so these are the material qualities. Actually, it's got nothing spiritual about it. Of course, the slight sattva guna also helps us in bhakti because in the state of ignorance and tamoguna and Rajoguna, it is very tough, like, but Satvaguna, from Satvaguna, one can easily get into bhakti, okay? Of course, one can do bhakti from any state, but Satvaguna is slightly more favorable. So here, Arjuna is in the state of Satvaguna, okay? So that is stated here. He was truly virtuous as these qualities combined with his faith in the words of the instructions of Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. So, of course, now what sets aside Arjuna from an ordinary Satvaguna person is he is a devotee of Krishna, okay? and he was truly virtuous and also is a Nityasiddha devotee of Krishna. And these qualities combined with his faith in the words of the instructions of Krishna's instructions indicate, okay, that he's a truly virtuous person. He's very saintly. It's concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Okay. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge. And without knowledge and devotion, there's no chance of liberation. So we need to have knowledge as well as devotion. So without the bhakti aspect, one cannot attain liberation. Arjuna was contempt in all this, competent in all these attributes and over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. Text 2.7. कार्पण्यदोषोपहत स्वभाव पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म समूढ़ चेता यच्छ्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं साक्षादि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. Synonyms: karpanya, of miserliness; dosha, by the weakness; upahata, being afflicted; swabhava, characteristics; prichami, I'm asking; tvam, onto you; dharma, religion; sammudha, bewildered; cheta, in heart; yat, what; shreya, all good; syat, maybe; nishitam, confidently; bruhi, tell; tat, that; may, unto me; shishya, disciple; te, you are; aham, I am; shadi, just instruct; mam, may; tvam, unto you; prapannam, surrendered. Translation: now I'm confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I'm asking you to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I'm your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Purpose. By nature's own way, the complete system of material activities is a source of perplexity for everyone. In every step, there's perplexity, and therefore it behooves one to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give one proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. All Vedic literatures advise us to approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life, which happen without our desire. They are like a forest fire that somehow blazes without being set by anyone. Similarly, the world situation is such that perplexities of life automatically appear without our wanting such confusion. No one wants fire, and yet it takes place, and we become perplexed. The Vedic wisdom, therefore, advises that in order to solve the perplexities of life and to understand the science of the solution, one must approach a spiritual master who's in the disciplic succession. A person with a bona fide spiritual master is supposed to know everything. One should not therefore remain in material perplexities, but should approach a spiritual master. This is the purport of this verse. Who is the man in material perplexities? It is he who does not understand the problems of life. In the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.8.10, the perplexed man is described as follows: Yova yetad aksharam gargi aviditva smal lokat praiti sa kripana. Is a miserly man who does not solve the problems of life as a human, and who thus quits this world like the cats and dogs without understanding the signs of self-realization. This human form of life is a most valuable asset for the living entity who can utilize it for solving the problems of life. Therefore, one who does not utilize this opportunity properly is a miser. On the other hand, there is the Brahmana, or he who is intelligent enough to utilize this body to solve all the problems of life. Ya etad aksharam gargi viditva smal lokat praitisa brahmana. The Kripanas, or miserly persons, waste their time in being very overly affectionate for family, society, country, etc. in the material conception of life. One is often attached to family life, namely to wife, children, and other members, on the basis of skin disease. The Kripna thinks that he's able to protect his family members from death, or the Kripna thinks that his family or society can save him from the verge of death. Such family attachment can be found even in the lower animals who take care of children also. Being intelligent, Arjuna could understand that this affection for family members and his wish to protect them from death were the causes of his perplexities. Although he could understand that his duty to fight was awaiting him, Still, on account of miserly weakness, he could not discharge the duties. He is therefore asking Lord Krishna, the Supreme Spiritual Master, to make a definite solution. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. He offers himself to Krishna as a disciple. He wants to stop friendly talks. Talks between the master and the disciple are serious. And now Arjuna wants to talk very seriously before the recognized spiritual master. Krishna is therefore the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita as stated, understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. How Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita is stated in the Gita itself. And yet, foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. There is no difference between Krishna's within and without, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. So, now, what is happening? Now, Arjuna says he's all confused and he's completely lost his composure. Why? Because of his miserly weakness, attachment to his relatives and friends. And now finally some sense prevails over him. And he says, Krishna, I'm your disciple. I'm surrendering to you. Please now instruct me. So what Prabhupada says in this purport is, at every step, like, this material activities bewilder us. Okay. We are always confused and we are perplexed. So the best thing to do is to approach a bona fide spiritual master who can give proper guidance for executing the purpose of life. So all the Vedic literatures also advise us to go and approach a bona fide spiritual master to get free from the perplexities of life. So, and these perplexities have happened even without our desire. They're like the forest fire, okay? So once you approach a bona fide spiritual master and follow his instructions, then you are absolutely clear of all these perplexities and you can finally attain your supreme goal, attaining Krishna. So who's the man in material perplexities? Who is he? What kind of a person? So in Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, it states, a perplexed man is described as follows. That is, he is a miserly man. He does not know the problems of life as a human. He does not solve the problems of life as a human and quits his body with the animals without understanding the science of self-realization. So only in the human form of life we can attain Krishna, okay, at least gradually, if not immediately, because we can read the scriptures, we can hear the scriptures, okay, and we can associate with the devotees, and finally, with good fortune and mercy, we can attain Krishna. So, this whoever does not realize this, okay, the ultimate aim of life, and who just wastes this human life, so he's like an animal. So to attain the ultimate goal of life, what should one do? One should go and seek a spiritual, bona fide spiritual master, okay, who can instruct him and who can solve, or one can solve all the problems of life. The Kripanas are miserly persons. They waste their time out with in being overly affectionate to their family, society, country, etc. So in the material conception of life. So similarly, Arjuna is here attached to his family and friends, okay? And now, so Arjuna is terribly confused and he says, Krishna, please help me. I am surrendering unto you. And now I'm very really sorry, like I treated you as my friend. Now I would like to treat you with regard. So actually, we cannot have a very friendly relationship with the spiritual master. We should respect him, okay? He's very heavy. The guru is very heavy, they say. So, we should respect the guru. Only then the guru will give us the instructions and give us mercy, and we can clear all our doubts, okay, and all our perplexities, and we can be very, very composed, and we can know what is our ultimate benefit, what is our ultimate aim, and then we can focus on that. So, and now Krishna is the original spiritual master of the science of Bhagavad Gita, and Arjuna is the first disciple for understanding the Gita. Okay, so now how Arjuna understands the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated in the Gita itself. Yet foolish mundane scholars explain that one need not submit to Krishna as a person, but to the unborn within Krishna. So these impersonalists, they say there's no form, no qualities, no activities, nothing. So those kind of people are actually very foolish, and no one can help them, because it's very clearly stated here that Krishna is as a form. Okay, yes, qualities, everything very clearly, and Krishna is instructing to Arjuna. So what else you need? Like, it's so crystal clear. And so we should not get confused, and we should worship the Bhagwan aspect of the Lord, Krishna. There's no difference between Krishna's within and without. Okay, actually, when we are born, we are having a Atma. The Atma, the soul is covered by the subtle and the gross bodies. Okay, so these are not our bodies, but they are attained according to our karma. So at the point of death, the gross body is withered, and the subtle body goes with the soul, and then it enters another body. Okay, like that. This is a continuous cycle. It continues until the jiva gains some sense, and then he realizes his supreme goal in life, and then starts doing the process of bhakti. Then he can be relieved of all these things. Okay, and one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool. Yeah. So, but for Krishna, there's no difference between Krishna's within and without. Means when Krishna comes to this world, to this planet, or the whatever, is he's coming in his original form. There's no difference between his gross body and his and himself. Okay, so not like the human beings. He's coming down in his original form. So there's no difference between Krishna's within and without. And one who has no sense of this understanding is the greatest fool in trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. Unless you take Bhagwan aspect of the Lord, and like unless you accept Krishna as a personality, one will be bewildered. Okay, they will not understand the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, next, text 2.8. Nahi prapashyami mama panutyad yachokam uchoshanam indriyanam avapya bhuma asapatnam ruddham rajyam suranam apichadipatyam. Synonyms: no, do not. He, certainly. Prapashyami, I see. Mama, my apanudya, can drive away. Yet that which shokam, lamentation. Uchoshanam, drying up. Indriyanam, of the senses. Avapya, achieving. Bhuma, on the earth. Asapatnam, without rival. Riddham, prosperous. Rajyam, kingdom. Surana, of the demigods. Api, even. Cha, also. Adhipatyam, supremacy. Translation: I can find no means to drive away this grief which is drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth and with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport: although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was all unable to solve his real problem without the help of the spiritual master. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master like Lord Krishna. Academic knowledge, scholarship, high position, etc., are all useless in solving the problems of life. Help can be given only by a spiritual master like Krishna. Therefore, the conclusion is that a spiritual master who is 100% Krishna conscious is the bona fide spiritual master, for he can solve the problems of life. Lord Chaitanya said that one who is a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, regardless of his social position, is the real spiritual master. Kiba vipra kiba nyasi shudra kene naya Ye Krishna Tattva Veta Se Guru Haya. It does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, a learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life. If he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is the perfect and bona fide spiritual master. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 8.128. So, without being a master in the science of Krishna consciousness, no one is a bona fide spiritual master. It is said, also, it is also said in the Vedic literature, Shat Karma Nipuno Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharada Avaishnavo Guru Nasyad Vaishnavashva Pacho Guru. A scholarly Brahmana expert in all subjects of Vedic knowledge is unfit to become a spiritual master without being a Vaishnava or expert in the science of Krishna consciousness. But a person born in a family of a lower caste can become a spiritual master if he is a Vaishnava or Krishna conscious. Padma Purana. The problems of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death cannot be counteracted by accumulation of wealth and economic development. In many parts of the world, there are states which are replete with all facilities of life, which are full of wealth and economically developed. Yet the problems of material existence are still present. They are seeking peace in different ways, but they can achieve real happiness only if they consult Krishna or the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, which constitute the signs of Krishna through the bona fide representative of Krishna, the man in Krishna consciousness. Okay. If economic development and material comforts could drive away one's lamentations for family, social, national, or international inebrities, then Arjuna would not have said that even an unrivaled kingdom on earth or supremacy like that of the demigods is the heavenly in the heavenly planets would be unable to drive away his lamentation. He sought therefore refuge in Krishna consciousness. And that is the right path for peace and harmony. Economic development or supremacy can. Economic development or supremacy over the world can be finished at any moment by the cataclysms of material nature. Even elevation into a higher planetary situation, as men are now seeking on the moon planet, can also be finished at one stroke. The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Shine punye madhya lokam vishanti. When the results of when the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness. The The Bhagavad Gita confirms this. Kshine punya matya lokam vishanti. When the results of pious activities are finished, one falls down again from the peak of happiness and the lowest status of life, to the lowest status of life. Many politicians in the world have fallen down in that way. Such downfalls only constitute more causes for lamentation. Therefore, if we want to curb lamentation for good, then we have to take shelter of Krishna as Arjuna is seeking out to be. Arjuna asked Krishna to not to Arjuna asked Krishna to solve his problem or definitely, and that is the way of Krishna consciousness. Okay. So now Arjuna says to Krishna, I can find no means to drive away the grief which is drying my senses, drying up my senses. I will not be able to dispel it even if I win a prosperous, unrivaled kingdom on earth with sovereignty like the demigods in heaven. Purport. Although Arjuna was putting forward so many arguments based on argument knowledge of the principles of religion and moral codes, it appears that he was unable to solve real problems without the help of the spiritual master, Lord Sri Krishna. Lord Sri Krishna. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving away his problems, which were drying up his whole conscious existence, and it was impossible for him to solve such perplexities without the help of a spiritual master, the Lord Krishna. Knowledge. He could understand that his so-called knowledge was useless in driving